What's up, guys? Today I'm gonna do a sit and go strategy video on Unibet. I'll play for about 10 minutes. So these games are about just started. One player has busted in the 10 euro sit and go, and everybody's still left in the 25 euro sit and go. I really like those games at Unibet. It's a new client, and the games are much softer than on PokerStars, and you can't use like the poker tracker HUD or something like that because it's not allowed on this network. Even though I like to use those stats program, it also keeps away a lot of other good players. So there's a lots of fish, casino, and odds players playing these poker games at Unibet, as you will see. There's no reason to try something here. Just preserve your chips during the early levels in the sit and go. It's much worth when you actually do get a hand to double up. Ace 9 is on the cutoff, is definitely a hand I will raise in this spot. And as usual, I go with the minimum raise. It's too shallow stacks to do any big raises. You just like 2x raise or 2.2x raises. It's enough. And when I don't hit the hand, I will check it most of the time, since these players don't fold. So you really want to hit something and go with it. In a multi-table tournament, I would usually c-bet a lot of pots when I'm the pre-flop aggressor, but that's not the perfect strategy on these games when the opposition are so loose and like basically calling every time if they have some outs. Here I will do my standard play here. It's like limp and then bet half pot if it works. 1/3 of the time, it's a profitable bet. You can read more about that in Dan Harrington's book, first book about tournaments. It's a really good book about the basics, even though it's a bit outdated, but it's I can recommend it. Here's really cheap to go in, so let's call here and make a standard raise here as well, hoping they are pushing back. Ten-9, enough to make a small raise here. We have played a pretty tight game, so we can do some races now. And here I will just shove it. It's enough money in the pot to just make a shove. And I will check this one. It's a pretty big chance they are calling pre-flop with the ace. I will just check this hand down. It's a big chance they have hit something, and if they don't, I probably do have the best hand, which seems to be the case. I think I shall put in a small value bet here if they have a 6 or some small pair in the hand. Ace 5 on the big blind here is enough to make a call against most players with these stacks here, even though these players are a little bit tighter and don't shove enough. So I will make a little bit less calls than usual, and pocket sevens here is definitely enough. I think if he's a good player, he will push any ace, any pair, and a lot of other hands as well. And he do have an ace, and it's a coin flip, which we unfortunately lose, but that's poker. And pocket aces here, and like stand-up play as usual, like the double. And now we have to fold this one. And pocket fives is enough to push if he raises, but when he just shoves, I don't want to make this call with 3 players left. If I have 6s or 7s, like 5s are really marginal. I'm ahead of his range, but still we don't want to gamble too much with 3 players left when we have such a marginal hand. Hopefully we will get a better spot. And this is a standard push if he's calling here, but he's not. So I have to fold. I won't be calling with these hands. I will rather push than call with those small pairs. Queen 10, pretty solid hand, but I'm waiting for a better spot. Like this, make the call here. Hopefully it will give us a free flop again. And now we will make the half pot bet, as I talked about earlier. It has to work 1/3 of the time to be profitable. It doesn't seem to work this time, but now is check it down. If they call the first street, they usually go all the way, and I don't want to burn all my chips on a total bluff. Not in these games, especially. If you play a cash game, you have deeper stacks. This is a totally different game. Here you want to preserve your chips to get maximum when you actually have something, and you do this smaller bluff raises instead. Ace Jack here is enough to be all in most spots, I would say. And hopefully we pick up 500 without contestant, but a call is fine as well. No, it calls with pocket deuces. This is what I talk about. It's really bad opponents. And I just like to shove here. It's no merit like raising 600. You can just, it's 500 in pot, you have 1200, so I would push a lot weaker hands than this in this spot. I would be pretty tight in this spot. Not raise with so many hands because he could put a ton of pressure when we're in this spot, but we are like equal in money here. It's very important to think about the dynamic win chips with so few players left to act. It's a totally different game to be in his spot than be in mine or his spot. This is a spot where many players would push, and I do think he is racing a pretty wide range, but I think I will get a better spot than pushing with ace-2s. These are turbo games, but the blinds are increasing in really small steps, so you have much more time than you think. And here we are in the money in this tournament. And we will check if what type of player he is, if he lets me limp in these spots. So I just limp first time. If he's racing, I won't do this play again. But if he's a player who lets me limp, it's really profitable to limp and then just bet half the pot in very many pots on very many different flops. And his sixes here is like, of course, standard shove. And you do call with the king 9, which is totally fine. I will push a very wide range, so his call with the king 9 is actually a good call. I will push a wider range than that. And there is dead money in the pot. Queen 10, I do think he will raise with tons of hands in his pot. I would both call or push all in. Both plays are equally good, I think. I take the call this time, and I will check raise him all in on tons of flops when I hit something like a gut shot or pair like this. And I check again and to let him, or I will play like I have a king draw, so I just make a small bet. Hopefully he will buy it, but he doesn't. Same thing here. I'll make the call again. I can't follow through with this hand here. And here we get a limp and a raise, so of course I will make the re-raise, and hopefully someone is pushing back, like 340. Here we make the minimum raise, Jack 10 suited. It's an okay hand to play in position against weak opponents. As I said earlier, I won't c-bet as often in these games. It doesn't matter what I do here. If I make a minimum raise or push, it's like this same thing. The money will go in anyway, and the money will go into this hand as well if he raises and try to steal. But he calls, and I think it's best to just push here and try to take 700, almost 700. Take that down pre-flop. It seems like he will be calling me with some weaker hands as well. Let's try this one more time. He was really aggressive last time I did this, so it doesn't work out this time. Just check it. And now we have to put some money out there. Same here, king jack suited is definitely good enough to just push here. Try to take the pot down. But we was a bit unlucky there, but maybe, no, we wasn't. We was lucky. It's a standard play for both players. Both players will get all in with king, queen, and king, jack suited with these high blinds. The money will go in, and no matter what, player holds the cards. And we will do the same minimum raise here. We would like to play a lot of pots in position, and this is definitely a hand I will play against weak opponents. And it's so much dead money in the pot, so it's just to like keep gambling, racing. Hopefully we'll take some pot down soon here. And that was lucky, because that was about one of the few hands I would actually fold in that spot, that spot. And now it's 700 in the pot, and it's 700 behind, so it's like 2-1. And yeah, that's enough odds to play against most hands. And as you see here, here you can actually see why I should push this hand. So now I register for one more 10 euro sit and go here, and I will play these two games before I wrap this video up. And as you can see, these players are grinding like me. He's like playing every game. So, and he seems to be pretty okay. I don't recognize the other players, which seems to be pretty loose, passive, like lots of limps and all the signs that I want to see for a really profitable game. And as I said earlier, there's lots of casino and odds players here. So the games are much softer than on PokerStars and other sites that's mainly focusing on poker. They have a totally different crowd. And this seems really tight, but I will actually fold this. I have pretty good odds to call, but he's a competent player. He won't raise. He will have a pretty good hand when he raises, and I don't want to play a lot of pots out of position and you just like start putting some money in a pot and then you put one on more bet. In this sit and goes, it's really important to preserve your chips when you do get a good hand, as I've stated earlier. So that's why you will see me fold some hands that seems pretty tight for people that not so used to playing sit and goes at the highest level. And do trust me, guys, I've played tons of sit and goes in my life and have been one of the most successful sit and go players on PokerStars with like a $40 per game on average win as most, which is huge. I could play like 4 to 6 games at once and win $40 per game. So you do the math. And I do think like the sit and goes are like the perfect way to start out with poker, because the situations you are put into are not as difficult as they are in like MTTs or cash games. The stacks are pretty shallow and the basic strategy during the first levels are really tight. You can fold almost of the hands and playing. That's good play. So like this hand, I will raise it. It's profitable to raise, but you could as well fold it and not do that much of a mistake, in my opinion. Like this, I would have preserved like 120 chips in this spot, for example. I think you should raise here with King Queen suited, but if you're starting out and not that used to playing many pots after the flop, I think you could tighten up even more and fold hands like King Queen this early in the tournament. Later on, you obviously should push all in. And here I make a small raise just to try to shut out some of the blinds from the pot and play a pot heads up against Jeko, which seems to be a loose passive players. And in this spot, like in the cash games, I would most of the time just bet when I hit top pair, good kicker. But not with super deep stack, of course. But in these games, I try to play the pots smaller, give them room to do mistakes. So I check behind here. Hopefully, he would have bet some ace small hand or some bluff hand. He doesn't do that in this spot, but I think that's the best play to go ahead to try to win the maximum chips in every pot. Of course, you take some risk to be outdrawn, but then I will get out of the pot pretty cheap. And here 9-10 suited, I will raise as well. Minimum raise. These players are not so good, so I want to play. I want to play really tight, but I want to play many pots when I'm in position against them. But I won't be calling so many 3-bets because when they 3-bet me, and especially he's a good player, so then they will have a hand most of the time. And here I will push much faster than most people. They would like do a race here, but then a lot of chips comes in the pot, and then you have to c-bet on the flop, and you miss the flop most of the time. So I'm perfectly fine with taking down 200 pre-flop without action, or maybe getting a call from a hand and getting versus like ace-jack or ace-queen, even king-queen. You will be surprised what hands they will be calling with. So I think the best play there is just to push for sure. And here's king-queen again. You could fold this hand, as I said earlier, but as I feel very confident with the opposition here, I will bet. And here I will make the half pot bet as I talked about earlier as well when he checks. And here's a spot I will see, but he could have an ace. Many hands he had missed his hand, and he will fold with those hands. So I will make a c-bet, and much good things can happen, even though he calls. And now we will take the free cards. Tons of good hands. Good cards can come on the river and make our life happy again. But that's not one of them. It's the same again. Half pot bet on the flop. And I think you should try that as well. Like try limping the small blind, betting half pot on the flop. If the players are not constantly raising you when you limp, of course. And then you can just start writing down how often that is working, and you will see that is a really profitable play in soft sit and go games as these. Of course, it won't work if you're playing good opponents, but in these games it's really profitable. And here, well, it's like you have odds enough to just push it this hand, but I think I win more money in the long run by not doing that. And here I just have to call when you make that minimum bet. And I don't know what the heck he was doing there. It's weird when you play this weak, crappy players. Yeah. You don't know really what to do with a hand like that. You would of course raise if he was folding, but I like, as I said earlier, like to preserve my chips. So you will see some really tight plays from me in some spots. And here I will make the minimum raise as well. I think he will be pretty tight though. Since he's playing many tables and he's a competent player, he will give me that a lot of times. Continue pounding on them. Ace-2 is about the weakest hand I would raise with. I really don't like this hand, but four-handed, weak opponents, then I like to play lots of pots. And when he makes this weird little raise, I have to call, of course. See the flop. and then see what's happening. And when he calls here, it's 240 in the pot, I will just push it. And this player seems to be pretty aggressive, don't like when I do this limp thing. So here's a perfect example of when you should just stop limping and try that play I was talking about, and just pushing the range you should push in this spot. King 8, I will try that small raise here. And I will try a small raise here as well. And here, as you can see, it's a perfect flop for me. Here I will just call and let him bet on the. Hopefully we will get the money in anyway, but here I will just call and let him bet. So I don't want to scare him away. So just call and call all turns, because he will be he would almost not have a choice there. For a short moment of time. And this seems really tight as well, but as I said, preserve the chips and fold. Wait till the blinds get higher. Then that's when you wanna win the big pots. You don't have to fight for all these pots in the beginning. And here, standard, continue to raise and punish the blinds. And I will give this away. You can't do that play. Bet play every time. You have to give some pots to them. Here in position, I will raise Jack 9 suited. As you probably would have guessed by now. When you're sitting in this guy's spots, even though you know I raise a wide range there, so it's pretty hard to do anything about it, because if he raises me, he will basically risk his about 2,000 in chips, and that's not worth it to re-steal to try to that small amount. So And here it's just to push enough money in the blind, and I don't want like make a small range and let them. And here I have to call. This player plays a weird game, and he's definitely a player I don't want to like splash around and make a lot of bets when I don't have anything. So when he give me odds, I will call and get the pass to the river. Hopefully, I could beat some hands in his range, like ace deuce. And here I was just call and push. I think he will, like I said, do this limp as I've been talking about so much, and I think he will limp a lot of hands in that spot, and that I want to take advantage of because his calling all-in range will be much tighter than his pushing all-in range. It's a pretty coordinated flop, so he will. I suspect him to continue a lot of time, but I have some outs, and he can fold as well, and he don't give me the odds here, even though a check raise all in is an option, but I will save that for another day. Unfortunately, he bets out. This would be a pot that I actually want to see bet with the overcard and the gut shot. And the 10 could be an out as well. $400 in the pot, ace 8 suited. That gives me an M of 5. So this is a standard shove. And we will try this play here. And the half pot bet. And I can't call with ace high. I'll make check here. I don't want to like draw for a small flush when there's a pair on the board, so I fold here. If I would continue that pot, I would have made that 240 bet myself. As I've said, I like to preserve the chips to the right spots. And here I will just check it. Maybe he's actually found some hand this time. And I will let him burn away his money on the turn. And just think a little bit, so it seems like I'm actually thinking about it, but as you understand, my money is already in the pot. And now you see him, I'm pretty... He was trying to fool me with that limp, hoping I would push again. And this is good play. And I don't want to make the race here either and make that risky bets. He's an M on 6. This is a call against most players. Or almost all players, but I do not get lucky here. Here I make the race, put some pressure on this guy. I will of course call if he go all in, and he knows that. And this is just because they won't would see I'm not all in, so it's just if somebody's played a lot of tables, they could make a mistake here. So that's why I wasn't like just pushing all in. And of course I will be all in with this hand. I can open under. Actually, that guy has been pretty tight, so this seems like a really tight fold, but he has been really tight, so I just give him one. I just double up. It's not that much of a rush as it seems. Any pair is a standard shove here. Now I make this half pot bet. Hopefully give me credit, but he didn't. I continue betting here. He could have some draw or something. Unfortunately, I was ahead here, but that didn't work out this time. Of course, this is standard call with ace high. And I will push this hand as well. I've been playing pretty tight, and the blinds are really high now, so this is the last game I will play before I wrap this session up. And since I won one of the 10 euros and I'm in the money in this 25 euros, I will come out ahead no matter what, how this ends. But of course, it will be a much better result if this ends with a win. And now we'll be calling with lots of hands, like a king high or something. It's enough, because I think he will push tons of his hands in his range there. And I will give him this one. And I will call with his hand, of course. Queen high, enough to push here. As you see, he actually called me with weaker hands than Queen 4. And I will fold my weakest hands in my range. He will call pretty light, and it's a big chance he got a better hand than Jack 6 and call me. I instead want to wait and make the call with a slightly better hand. But in this spot, he actually was the favorite. I think he will push a lot of hands there, so I'm really happy to get it in with King Jack against his push there. But it didn't work this time. So I'll wrap this up. Thank you guys. Bye.